Here we go.
You are about to experience the Skip Bayless Show. I am about to unleash on LeBron, on Tom Brady, and on how the Dallas Cowboys are way better than most people think, even Jerry Jones at this point. I'll unleash on Jerry. And I'll end up unleashing about Shedeur and the Cleveland Browns. But first up, I'm sorry I have to talk about LeBron. I didn't plan to talk about LeBron until he began to tease what was called the second decision. And silly me, that was Monday night. I started thinking, well, the Lakers have shut him out. They have made it very clear to him that they are moving forward without him after this year, that Luka is now the face of the franchise, the future of the franchise. And I thought, silly me, maybe LeBron finally caved in. Maybe he was forced by the Lakers to go ahead and declare publicly that this will be his final year, last hurrah. That way he could have a LeBron victory tour, swan song tour over America. He could get feted, honored, enshrined at every stop along the way. Gifts, accolades, ceremonies, every arena. I thought maybe that's what's happened. The Lakers finally convinced him this is not happening after this year. No matter what happens this year, you are not in our plans. If we win the chip this year, you are done as a Los Angeles Laker, which leaves him, of course, two choices. He could retire now, announce it, live it out, be a great ride, great way to go, quote unquote, home to Hollywood. Or he could say, screw you, Lakers, watch this. I will go finish my career in, I don't know, maybe back to Cleveland, maybe play the Palace in New York, maybe play Madison Square Garden for a year or two. I wouldn't be surprised if he played 2 more years. As a Knick, maybe he could retire as a New York Knick just to stick it to the Lakers. Maybe by then the Knicks would be good enough to contend at least for the Eastern Conference, and LeBron could get one last, at least, finals on his quote-unquote GOAT resume. So I'm thinking there's no way he would announce now that he's going home again to Cleveland or that he's going to New York after this year. It's just way too premature. There's too much that could happen. Knocking on wood for health. No, that couldn't be it. So I speculated on Twitter on Monday night, is it possible the Lakers have finally forced his hand into announcing this is it? I'm on my way out. One last hurrah. Thought maybe. Saw speculation on X or Twitter. Could just be an ad ploy. And I thought, nah, that's beneath LeBron's dignity because the decision to me was iconic, whether you loved or hated it, and I actually loved it for LeBron's sake. I'll get to that in just a moment. It was an iconic sports moment because we'd never seen anything like that, where LeBron actually staged an event on live national television, moderated, narrated by Jim Gray, in which he actually shocked the world with his decision that he announced. I'd never seen anything like it before, whether you, again, agreed or disagreed with how he handled it. And later, in 2011, LeBron said in an interview I saw on ESPN, I was there at the time, he said that I would probably have changed a lot of things about the way he handled the decision. I understand that. I will get to that in just a moment. But no matter how you sliced it, we'd never seen anything like that on television. I was in awe of the execution of it, the performance of it, the impact of it. It was internationally watched. It was a moment. It was a breakthrough. It was a goatish sort of endeavor by a guy who's clearly not the GOAT, but it was the one thing off the court that was goatish. It was memorable. And to take that decision, the decision, and stoop to cheapen it, to sell it out, to make money, to launch some new Hennessy brand of cognac, your signature brand of cognac. Really? You would stoop to that, LeBron? At this stage and age, as you enter year 23, age 40, you would stoop so far as to, pardon my language, just to piss all over your iconic moment in favor of making God knows how many millions from Hennessy to piggyback this as the second decision. LeBron, are you that starved for attention now because the Lakers have pissed all over you? Is that what just happened? That you're trying to say, watch this? My God. I just thought LeBron was above all that. I mean, he opens this ad, the second decision, by doing his fake crowning. And every time he does it, I say, you're the king of what? Seriously, the king of what? What have you done to do this? You're 4-6 in NBA finals. So 6 times you've lost. And you've had so many epic fails in your career that it's just laughably shameful that you would keep doing this. But I guess there are those billions of blind witnesses out there who still buy that. After this, LeBron, after you stooped to abuse your legacy in favor of however millions you made from Hennessy to launch this new brand, what's it called? Hennessy VSOP? Way to go, LeBron. Congratulations. I don't know who the interviewer is, but you wore the same shirt. You wore the same shirt in this one that you wore in the real decision, the first decision, the iconic moment decision. I'm giving you iconic, LeBron. And then he asked you early on in the ad, where's the powder? Oh, I left that at home. The powder, again, it really deeply disturbs me. You stole the pregame powder toss from the real 23, the only 23, the genuine 23, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. You, the phony goat, stole that from him as if you're going to carry on his tradition of tossing the powder in front of press row right before tip-off. You hijacked it as if you deserved to carry on his legacy because you had next. You were the chosen one, as you had tattooed across your back. I don't know, LeBron. This was sorry. This was low, even by some of the standards you set for yourself. This was just sad to me that it's come to this for you because the Lakers have done that to you. And now it sounds like I keep hearing about this injury and that injury, and now they're getting some nerve thing. I don't know. It's just the biggest bunch of phony baloney. You're pouting. You're a 40-year-old man-child. You always have been a man-child. You're still like a little kid to me. And you still play with little kid joy when you finally do get on the basketball court, but you handle yourself with childish diva. And now you're always hurt. You're not gonna play in the preseason. You're out for the preseason. Okay, we get it. You're saying, I'm going to literally take my basketball and go home. That's what you're doing right now. You're just saying, I won't participate. I'm not going to give you this because you won't give me anything. You won't extend my contract. You won't pay any homage to me. You won't treat me with any respect anymore. So I'm going to retaliate as I pout, sulk. I'm going to get even with you by saying, I got a little of this, I got this groin thing, and I got this and that. I can't, I'm not going to play any preseason. You're going to show them that you have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And I assume that's going to go on into the real season, to the regular season, to the games that count. I think you'll play far fewer minutes as you try to save yourself for your only way out of this, pride-wise, and that is to go home to Cleveland or go to New York. One or the other. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody else on the horizon I'm missing here. I don't know. Maybe you will join Kevin Durant in Houston. I have no idea, but it's not going to be the Lakers, even though you and your wife, children, you're all building your forever home here. I think it's up somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. You'll have a home in Brentwood and a home in the Hollywood Hills. Your career now is in Hollywood. You were born to play Hollywood. And I know it's tearing you apart because the Lakers have you by the basketballs, so to speak. They know you're Hollywood. Once you live, I'm speaking to you from Los Angeles. I know LA. I did a stint here just soon after college back in the 1970s. And I just said, hey, if I ever get a chance, I'm going back there. I want to spend the rest of my born days there. And I got a chance to go back to FS1 in 2016, and I'm still here. Now I'm doing Arena Gridiron. You can find it, by the way. Just go to the YouTube channel, The Arena. It's shot at the home of Gilbert Arenas out in Woodland Hills. We're here. I'm here. Show is taking off. Excited about it. Dropping anchor here. I get it, LeBron. You need to be here. You don't want to have to spend 6 months living in some condo in Cleveland, Ohio, or for that matter, in New York. Those New York winters get tough. So you're trying to show the Lakers, trying to teach them a lesson, okay? You don't want me, then I don't want you. You're not going to get all of me this year. I don't think he's going to give it his all this year. Fewer minutes, which would be good for him long term. Maybe he'll stay a little bit healthier. Maybe he'll amp it up a little toward the playoffs. But it will be all about Luka and always deferring to Luka. I think you'll see him pout some on the floor. A lot of hot potato passes. Pass it to me, I'll pass it to you, Luka. Pass it right back to you, Luka. And so an attention grab is to tease the second decision. Everybody's going to tune in and see what you're doing. It's going to drop at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. I think Hennessy broke it like an hour and a half early. I don't know. I was busy doing my show. But you went so far as to even use the same language in the commercial of your interviewer ask you, where are you taking your talents to? I'm taking my talents to Hennessy VSOP. LeBron ends the commercial by saying, I like my decision. Man, that is weak. That is lame. That is sorry. That is cheap. That is undercutting a moment of moments in your career. And look, when it happened, I actually stood up and applauded. Silly me, not a LeBron fan. Don't buy into it. Obviously, I wear only Jordans because that's the guy. That's the greatest performer ever in any sport. It's not even close. 6 finals, 6 championships, 6 MVPs, 6-0. Next, not you. Nobody. There's no next. He was he or him. He was it. So when I look back at the decision, I say, look, you're not Jordan. Jordan just wanted to finish in Chicago and they wouldn't let him. Jordan he didn't want to go join forces with anybody. But LeBron is not Jordan, so I applauded LeBron for finally saying, I can't do this by myself. Do you remember that last series? First go around in Cleveland against Boston. Do you remember what happened? It just kept on happening to LeBron James. You go up 2-1. You had that game 3 in Boston. I always say, in my pantheon of LeBron games, I like that one. I thought it was a Friday night game. I made my wife Ernestine watch it in our place in New York City. I said, we got to watch this. And you, LeBron, went off. Whew. It was goatish. Not the GOAT, but that was goat-ish. I've never seen you play more dominantly than that night against that team in that building. And right on schedule, games 4, 5, and 6, poof, disappear. Poof, poof, poof. Your whole career was based on collapsing in games 4, 5, and 6. Epic fails. What Stephen A. Smith report after you lost game 6, eliminated by the Boston Celtics, he reported on ESPN the next morning. He first reported on Mike and Mike, which was right ahead of First Take. So I actually saw Stephen A. report this on the set of Mike, which was across the floor from the First Take set. I looked over and listened and watched as Stephen A. reported, as I was preparing for First Take, that according to a source within LeBron's camp, he had to be sedated before games 4, 5, and 6 because of an issue with a teammate. Well, I think we all know what that issue was, but did it require him to actually be sedated before these games, these playoff games, 4, 5, and 6 against the Boston Celtics? I'm not buying that. Maybe you are, but that was the excuse that his camp planted. And I laughed and laughed and laughed. And then a little time passed, and his owner in Cleveland, Dan Gilbert, LeBron's owner, actually told the Associated Press that LeBron quit in those 4, 5, and 6 games, that he quit against the Boston Celtics. They made him quit. Anybody ever accuse Michael Jordan of quitting? Jerry Reinsdorf ever say, Michael quit in that play? Stop it. Just that alone disqualifies LeBron from even a GOAT discussion. Your owner said you quit? So LeBron later admitted he was still angry at Dan Gilbert when he sat down to do the decision. Unfortunately, that anger also included the Cavs fans, who were the greatest fans in the world, who had supported him through thick and a whole lot of thin, who had his back, he being from that area, obviously from Akron. They loved him as a favorite son. They lived and died, LeBron James, and then he killed him. Killed him on national TV. He gave him nothing. There was no gratitude. There was no thank you. There was no nothing. I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Period. End of story. And LeBron, the PR king, greatest media manipulator I've ever known, failed miserably at public relations as he made his legendary announcement. And yet the reason I applauded was he needed help. He needed a big brother. He needed Dwayne Wade to teach him how to do this, how to win playoff games, how to handle himself with the media under fire. How do you do this? How do you win? Dwayne Wade knows how to win. He's right up there. For me, as a winner, I'll take Dwayne Wade over LeBron any day or night. Not as a player, but as a winner. And Dwayne was kind of on his last legs. He had both knees were bad because he got a really bad surgery on one knee when he was at Marquette, and he just never recovered from it. It was sort of pre-scoping, arthroscoping. It was terrible. It really shortened his career, but what a career he had. What a finals he had without LeBron. Whew. He shoot enough free throws in that final. He made them. That's the point. He made them. But I applauded LeBron for saying, I can't do this by myself. I'm not Jordan. That's what that said to me is, I'm not Jordan. I need to go join forces with my brother, Dwayne Wade, and with Chris Bosh, and with Pat Riley, and with Eric Spoelstra, and with all the key pieces who helped him break through and win his first championship. All the Mike Millers of the world and the Mario Chalmers of the world. Who am I saying? Yeah. All the set pieces that they had in place, that they had so many. Remember Mike Miller in the closeout game against the Thunder? Was it game 5 in Miami? My God, what did he make? 7 of 8 threes? You need that. And Pat Riley provided that. It was beautifully put together. Pat Riley taught LeBron a lot, even though LeBron turned on him in the end. So they ended up burning his jersey in Cleveland, a lot of those fans, just because he handled it so poorly. And obviously, they lost their favorite son. I got that. But in the end, if you step away from it and look at it hard, you say, that was smart. I mean, where would he have been without the decision that he made? It was beautiful. It saved his career. And then in the second finals, Ray Allen saved his, speaking of set pieces, speaking of complimentary players, Ray was the backside of his career, but my God, did Ray Allen not save LeBron's career? Truly, without the greatest clutch shot I've ever seen, LeBron would now be 3-7 in the finals. It was shot of shots, forced overtime, Game 6, 2013, in Miami. Heat fans fleeing into the night, cordoned off around the court, ready for the Spurs championship celebration, trophy presentation. We're up, what? I was a Spurs fan at that point. We're up 5 with 18 seconds left. Baby Kawhi missed a free throw. Manu missed a free throw. LeBron's just choking his guts out in Game 6. Just choking his guts out. He has 3 unforced error turnovers in the last 3 minutes, but he had 2 in the last minute. And then even though he'd made some shots in the fourth quarter, I give you that. But then the shot of shots is the one to tie with, I don't know, what is it, 8 or 10 seconds left. To LeBron's credit, he at least took the shot, but of course he LeBricked it. No clutch gene. Just the poor man was not born with a clutch gene. Long rebound out. I don't know why Tim Duncan was on the bench. You'd have to ask Coach Popovich that question. I didn't get it. For defensive purposes, I don't know. I don't get it. But Chris Bosh bounds out for the long rebound. And to his credit, Chris Bosh, high basketball IQ, immediately whipped a perfect pocket pass to Ray Allen, who somehow got his feet just barely back. He had to sort of back to the line, the three-point line in the deep corner. And it was just nothing but net right out of his hand. I just knew it. I just knew it. I saw it. I felt it before it happened. Overtime. And my Spurs could not pick themselves up off the mat. Not for the overtime, not for Game 7, even though we sort of hung in Game 7. saved his legacy. So my point is that way to go, LeBron. That was beautiful. You did that. You got your 2 championships. Then the next year, the Spurs, I know Dwayne's on his last legs by this point, but 2014, the Spurs got revenge by blowing out LeBron's Miami Heat by a record finals margin. It was a complete and utter wipeout, but it's 1-1 going back to Miami. I dare somebody to go look at the tape of these games because I watched them both closely and then watched them again. Those 2 games in Miami, LeBron, maybe he was sedated. I don't know. Maybe he got sedated. Maybe he had an issue with a teammate in Miami too and got sedated before games 3 and 4 in his house. South Beach, Miami. Took his talents. He took them nowhere. I don't know where he took his talents in those 2 games because he just disappeared. He just shut down and locked up the way he had in the first finals. You remember the first finals in Miami? They got there thanks to Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and they go up 2-1. LeBron makes his list in his hotel room, reportedly. I think Stephen A. reported that one also. Made his list. These are the people I'm going to say, I told you so to. These people. Number 1 on that list was me. Number 1 was me. That's after 2-1, up 2-1 at Dallas. You know what happened right on schedule, games 3, 4, and 5. LeBron was abominable in those 3 games. Just completely shut down. Chosen one became frozen one. We saw that a lot in his career. Even last playoffs, same thing. 1-1, going to game 3 at home. Look what LeBron did. I dare anybody to go look up the fourth quarter stats from games 3, 4, and 5 of last year's first round playoff series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were the underdogs, solid underdogs in that first round against Luka and LeBron. In fact, USA Today just came out with its new ranking of players. Only one team in all of basketball had 2 top 10s. 2 top 10s, says USA Today. LeBron was, I believe, 8th, and Luka was 4th on that list. 8th and 4th. So LeBron's still, according to USA Today, a top 10 player, even though the Lakers have said, nope, we don't want that anymore. And a big reason they said no was Rob Pelinka carefully watched games 3, 4, and 5 last year, and Luka wasn't much better. But LeBron tanked, man. He just disappeared. He froze up, closed up. Looked like he kind of gave up, especially in game 5. It was just hard to watch because no clutch gene. He's not that guy. Obviously, extremely talented, not that guy. But I actually loved the decision because I loved the way he did it. It was performance art. Even though he didn't say the right things, he did the right thing. He did it for an international live audience, and he chose to take his talents to South Beach. I didn't condemn Kevin Durant. He's going into year 10. As he told somebody close to him who told me, he decided he'd never win a championship in Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook as his primary decision maker. Bingo. I was saying that all along. Did I condemn Kevin for joining forces with Steph and Draymond and Clay? No. Year 10, you need rings. He got rings. 2 in a row. Game 3s, he took over. LeBron's house. Game 3, LeBron played 2 of the greatest games I've ever seen just on production, just overall. Remember, he had lost Kevin Love before that finals. Remember, he had lost Kyrie in overtime of game 1, shattered his kneecap. Hope Kyrie can come back this year because Dallas is going to be something to behold if he can just get back 90%. But remember what happened in game 1 and 2 at Oracle. LeBron was spectacular. He was just just monumental, like a mountain of a man at 6'9", 260, just dominating, just taking over games, just doing everything in his power to win the basketball game, and he pulled it off. Went home, won a game. Now it's up. You're up 2-1 with Game 4 in your house. Your house. And you go 7 of 22 and 4 of 8 from the free throw line, and you let Iguodala just take the game over on both ends, abuse you on defense. You let Iguodala launch what became an MVP run through the rest of the finals. 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6. What happened? Kevin Durant. Your house, Game 3. Kevin Durant made one right in your grill, just a pull-up three-pointer, semi-break three-pointer, kaboom. Shot after big shot. Kevin Durant did it again the next year. Game 3 in your house, took it over. MVP. I give it up to Kevin. He didn't have a decision. He didn't make a big national TV announcement, but he took his talents to the Bay and never looked back. I don't blame him a bit. Got his rings, became a made man. Way to go. LeBron, after all that you've gone through and all the people you've fooled, those billions of blind witnesses out there, now you rub their noses in it, you lead them on, you tease them into submission the night before. You've got people lining up to purchase season tickets to the Laker games, sales escalating all through Monday because you were teasing that this, could be maybe your last hurrah. Ticket prices soaring through the roof. You did that, LeBron. Way to go. Congratulations. You duped your faithful. You duped them all. You used your iconic moment. Your most iconic moment to me was the decision. It was a combination of basketball and entertainment. Brilliant. I don't know if it was Maverick Carter's decision. Maybe Rich Paul had something to do with it. Maybe you had something to do with it. Maybe you got your 3 great heads together. You all got great brains. And you came up with a brilliant idea. Let's announce this to the world on live national TV. And then you come full circle in year 23, that magic number, you being the phony goat, and I hate to use this word because I don't like it, but it just felt like you prostituted your iconic moment to make your killing from Hennessy. Really? Man. As much as I doubt you, LeBron, I thought you were better than that. Okay. Speaking of advertising, I'll do a little of my own. I'm not LeBron. This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. If you own a business, hiring can be, as you know, so time-consuming. I've heard stories of employees waiting weeks, even months, for the right candidate to apply, not to include the time spent just sorting through resumes. Then you have to get in touch with the potential candidates. It can be a whole new ball of wax. My point is that an employer looking for a qualified candidate can be a headache. You know it, I know it. So the future of hiring looks much brighter now because ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features help speed up finding the right people for your roles. With ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes. You see a candidate you're really interested in, you can unlock their contact info instantly. Over 320,000 new resumes are added to ZipRecruiter each month, which means you can reach more potential hires, fill roles sooner, quicker, easier. Use ZipRecruiter and save time hiring. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's pretty good. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/skip right now, you can try it for free. That's a pretty good deal. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/skip. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Okay. I have always said, speaking of Jordan, that as a clutch competitor and a big game winner, the closest thing I ever saw to Michael Jordan was Tom Brady. And now it's starting to dawn on me that now maybe they share one other post-career quality. Think about this. They can't translate their playing genius into broadcasting dominance or into team-building brilliance. Michael Jordan was smart enough. A man's got to know his limitations, said Clint Eastwood, but Michael Jordan knew his enough to not to even try TV commentating on NBA games. Covered Michael, got to know him in 1998, that last dance year in Chicago. It was never a great interview. Never the greatest at expressing his innermost thoughts or what he saw and felt during basketball games. Stories are legendary around the Bulls of those days about how Jerry Krause, the GM Michael hated, had to continue to overrule Michael when Michael pushed to go get this player or that player because Jerry was smarter than Michael at team building. Jerry did a great job, but he had Jordan. But Jerry, again, a lot of times Michael wanted Carolina players. Oh, they're the best. Al Wood. Do you remember Al? I called him Balsa Wood. He was always getting hurt. Michael, let's go get Al Wood, Carolina player. No, he doesn't fit here. It's not good. It's not a good team fit, blah, blah, blah. Just one story after another. Michael was just so supremely gifted, as I used to call him. He was a supremely talented overachiever. That's how you get to be the GOAT, supremely talented overachiever. Nobody worked harder and nobody was more talented. Look out, GOAT. But he was so gifted that he couldn't really see why others couldn't play. It's like when Magic tried to coach, it's Jerry West tried to coach. It's like, why can't you just do that? I can't do that. You did that. I can't do that. Nobody could do that except Magic and Jerry West. And nobody could do it except Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He knew why he made plays and passes and clutch shots, but he struggled to put it into words about why others around him couldn't. If you're with me, it's one thing to be able to do it. It's another to see it and say it live on TV as you comment on a game. So I'm now working with Aqib Talib, my guy on Arena Gridiron, as I mentioned. So Aqib caught my eye when he played for Kansas. Kansas wasn't any good at that point, but I would occasionally watch Kansas and he would leap off the TV screen because he was so gifted at cornerback, but you could see he was gifted mentally as well. He had that it quality at corner of anticipation, of I can see it before you see it. I can read the quarterback before he even cuts loose. I'm already moving toward where the quarterback has focused upon and is going to attempt to complete a pass. Aqib, I could just see it right away, played with his body and his brain. That's a lethal combination for receivers. I mean, all Aqib did for a mediocre Kansas team was he was the MVP of the Orange Bowl, the MVP of the Orange Bowl against Virginia Tech for Kansas as a cornerback. It's hard to be an MVP of a game at cornerback, but he did it. Happened once in the last Cowboys Super Bowl, but don't get me started about that. So I love sparring with Aqib on Arena Gridiron because he gets it, man. Do you know how many ex-players I have debated with on live TV below these many years? Do you know how many just don't get it? Trust me, they just don't get it. Yeah, I didn't play, but neither did Howie Roseman. He's the best GM in football because he gets it. He sees it. He can see who can play and who can't play, and he couldn't play. But he's got the gift of seeing what works in pro football and being way ahead of every curve to acquire that player through that draft pick or that free agent move. That's why Philly still think they're the best team in the NFC. So with Aqib, it's fun because he inspires me on air because he's smart. He can hang with me because he makes great points. And some of his points I can't make because he's making a point from a perspective of, I did this. So many of those players just can't get it out. They can't express it. They might have the correct instinct about what's right and wrong, but they can't verbalize and vocalize it. It just won't come out right because there's so many of them they just don't understand. They don't really know football. They played their position, played it at some high level, but as far as how the game works, they don't get it. Aqib Talib is just a pleasure for me to spar with on air. I learn from him. I think he learns occasionally from me. We go back and forth at the highest level of respect, and he makes me laugh and I make him laugh. It's like the end of Casablanca. It's the beginning of a beautiful friendship. So what happened to Michael Jeffrey Jordan after he retired? He did do that little ceremonial stint in Washington just because he was close to the owner. He kind of wanted to coach the team and operate the team, and that gave him a taste. And then here he went, and he begins 14 seasons of being an owner, but also an operator in Charlotte. He built all those teams. He made every choice. 14 seasons he did this. It was the all-time disaster for a general manager in any sport. And it's another case, the Jerry Jones effect was in operation because Michael wasn't going to fire himself. He's the owner and the operator. He's Jerry Jones. Michael Jordan, as much as it pains me to say, was the worst GM in the history of sports. I can show you. 14 seasons, 3 playoff appearances in the NBA, where it seems like half the teams make the playoffs. 3. 2010, they made it and got swept. 2014, they made it and got swept. 2016, they did make it all the way to Game 7 before they lost. So 3 playoff series, 0-3 in the postseason in 14 seasons. Horrendous. That's as bad as Jordan was great as a player. 2012, they set the record for the worst winning percentage in NBA history. They went 7-59 that year, 7-59. Just a few of his shockingly bad draft picks. This is Michael Jordan trying to pick players. This is the GOAT. Took Adam Morrison. I immediately said, wrong. I was on cold pizza at that point. What year was it? Maybe 2005. Wrong. Adam Morrison. Could have had Brandon Roy or Kyle Lowry. Yikes. Took Kemba Walker. I liked his spunk, spirit, competitive fire, but he's like 5'11", Kemba Walker. Over Clay. Kawhi. No, you can't do that. Ugh. Then you took Michael Kidd-Gilchrist over Bradley Beal. I could go on in that draft. I could just keep going deeper and just give you name after name. I don't want to beat this dead horse too many more times. He took Cody Zeller. I was like, stop it. Over Giannis. Took Frank Kaminsky. No. Over Devin Booker. I called that one when it happened. Wrong. Took Malik Monk over Donovan Mitchell. I like Malik Monk as kind of a sixth-man fire starter, microwaver. Donovan Mitchell? Okay, I could just go on and on. I think I've made the point. It was a disaster. John Elway was a disaster picking quarterbacks. He just couldn't pick a quarterback. Peyton Manning knocked on his door. But when it came to the draft, he just couldn't do it. He just couldn't see what worked at quarterback because he was just too gifted at playing quarterback to get it. You need an overachiever, actually, at quarterback to understand how hard it is to play quarterback and that this guy can and this guy can't. Which brings me to the football GOAT, unquestionable GOAT, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. So, what have we seen from Tom post-football? We have seen him here of late. So he's committed to Fox for $375 million over 10 years to try to become the GOAT broadcaster, the GOAT in-game commentator. And then on top of that, he ran a double reverse on Fox and said, well, I have an opportunity because of Mark Davis, my friend, the owner of the Raiders. I can own 5%. It's like $40 million worth of the Las Vegas Raiders. And he jumped at it, even though that tied both hands behind his back as a broadcaster because of NFL rules preventing him as an owner to actually interact with a team whose game he's going to call the next Sunday. So Tom has been severely restricted in what he can glean from the team about what's really going on inside the team, as we hear all the other broadcasters constantly say, they like him, they don't like him, they need more from him, but they're going to utilize him way more. None of that is going to be told to Tom Brady because too many times there's overlap of games that he is researching versus games upcoming that the Raiders are actually playing against that team. And it became very clear, Tom made it very clear as he wore the headset during Monday Night Football, which I thought was really, it was a bad move, but it was a Bigfoot move. It was an I'm the GOAT and you're not move. It's I can do whatever the hell I want move to show the world I am engaged here. I am plugged in with these Raiders. I am actually advising. I am on the play calling headset. And it obviously forced Pete Carroll, others to acknowledge that Tom talks often to offensive coordinator, head coach, and GM. He knows them all, close with all of them. And that he's constantly interacting and inputting into the now Las Vegas Raiders. So I've said this many times, the more I listen to Brady as a broadcaster, the worse he gets. And I've never seen a time when a network felt compelled to actually advertise the commentator during the game he's commenting upon. In Fox, they keep running this Brady ad about Brady's football brains. They keep just running it over and over and over again. Brady knows it all, because the public sees that he can't know it all the way Chris Collinsworth can get it all, or Tony Romo can get it all, or Troy Aikman can get it all, because their hands aren't tied behind their backs. They can actually interact. They can go to practice and be told in confidence things that leak into their coverage on game night that I want to know. I'm the biggest football fan you'll ever know. I'm fanatic. I'm obsessed. I'm addicted. I admit it. But there are times, little tidbits from Chris Collinsworth said during the Green Bay Cowboy game of Sunday night ago, the 40-40 win for us. He just pops out that Shamar James, their 5th round choice, who got thrown into the game in that game and then again in the one at Jets, Shamar James, according to Chris, is the best blitzer on the team. Well, I barely knew who he was, period. He's their 5th round rookie this year. Couldn't get on the field, in part because Eberflus brought from Chicago this Jack Sanborn, who he's the classic. He plays just with his head because he doesn't have much talent to play with. I don't get him, and then God bless him, knock on wood, he got concussed the other day. Shamar James got in the game at Jets and had 15 tackles in 3 quarters. And I kept harking back to what Chris Collinsworth told me on air, was that Shamar James is so athletically explosive that he's the best blitzer on the team. Well, I didn't know that. Brady wouldn't tell me anything like that. The more I listen to Tom Brady, the worse it gets. He is all-time Captain Obvious. He is vanilla extract. He tells me nothing I can't see with my own 2 eyes. And I do know football because I've been doing this a long time, and I learned from Don Shula, and I learned from Bill Washington, I learned from Tom Landry, and I learned from Jimmy Johnson. I did. I paid my dues. I know this game pretty well. I'm not at all intimidated by going back and forth with Aqib Talib or Gerald McCoy, Cody Kessler, Richie Incognito, whoever's on our show on Arena Gridiron. I've never been intimidated. For years I was with Shannon Sharp. It just doesn't bother me. I'll go back and forth. I get it. But Tom never tells me anything that I say, oh, I didn't think of that. Tony Romo, always. Tony Romo takes stands. Tom can't say anything bad. You cannot, as an owner, criticize anything on the football field. Not referees, not players, not coaches, cannot criticize. So it just vanillas you out. Tony takes stands constantly. The other day, he just took stand after stand. I was like, whoa. On the grounding call, where they threw the flag on Bo Nix, Tony said, that's grounding. I know grounding. He said, that's grounding. That's what Tony said. He knows grounding. He said it was just basically a blind throw to nobody, but there was somebody sort of in the vicinity, and they let replay tell them to pick up the flags that they had thrown. They had decided, they'd conferred and decided grounding, drop flag, replay assist, pick up flag. Didn't even make an announcement about it. Changed the game. It was the pivotal point in the Denver at Philly game. Tony Romo's all over it. Tom's not going to tell you that. He's not going to take any stands. He's just going to say what's happening. He's just going to sort of repeat what's actually happening that you can already see with no real wisdom or evaluation or insight or analysis. You just don't get it from Tom. So here's my point. Is it possible that Tom is Jordan? Is it possible? I'm really starting to think this, even though his hands are tied, I give you. But is it possible that Brady can't say what he sees because he just can't? Is it possible he had such genius that he can't explain it? That Tony, remember, Tony's undrafted. He's the classic overachieving Cowboy quarterback out of nowhere, thanks to Sean Payton. Tony can see it and say it and analyze on the fly. It's immediate. It's happening very quickly, and you have to pierce it with your insight. Pierce. And Tom can't, because maybe he just can't. Maybe he's not capable. I'm just not sure. You know, they all say, if you ever sat with Brady off camera, he'd rip and slash. And I'm sure he would, but would he smartly rip and slash? Is it possible that he had such IQ genius for football, for speed reading defenses, that he can't explain it, and he can't apply it to what's happening with lesser players down on the football field that he's supposed to be commenting upon? Is it possible Tom just, along with Jordan, maybe he's a terrible GM candidate? I mean, right now, the Oakland Raiders, as I have always called them, now Las Vegas Raiders, they're a wreck. It's not working. So all of Tom's input has not gotten them anywhere. In the draft, I don't know. Geno, was he in on Geno? I've never been in on Geno. I said when Geno was at West Virginia, I just don't like it. He was a Heisman candidate for like half the year, Heisman leader. I just never liked him. I didn't like his command, his poise, his mindset. He's got talent enough that you can win some games with him, but Pete Carroll's out of his mind right now. He's beside himself. It sounds like Pete Carroll's lost because he said, I thought we were going to win a bunch of games. And they went and they shockingly won at New England. I still don't get that game. Geno played pretty well. Drake May didn't. But that was game number one. Players playing no preseason games anymore. And then what happened to the Raiders? Where's Ashton Genty? Brock Bowers got a knee issue. I got it. Geno's just Geno. Interception waiting to happen. What has he thrown? 9, leads the league with 9. Ugh. Why hasn't Tom been able to fix that? Well, maybe he's just Jordan. Maybe he didn't like Shedeur in the draft because he just doesn't get it. Maybe Tom can't see what really works at quarterback for everybody else. Maybe he can't explain exactly why he was so great. Maybe he just doesn't have that quality. Maybe it doesn't translate into broadcast television. I think that's what you'll find. I'll go on record. I think you'll find that he won't stay the course for 10 years with Fox. I hope I'm wrong for Fox's sake. And I love Tom. Nobody ever defended Tom harder as a player than I did. He's the runaway GOAT. He's way better than Mahomes ever thought about being. And anybody else you want to throw, he's a little better than Joe Montana, who went 4-0 in the Super Bowl. But I can't defend this because I'm starting to think that Tom Brady and Michael Jordan also share a post-career quality, which is they just can't tell you exactly how and why they were so great. Remember I said that. Next time you listen to Tom Brady or watch Tom Brady, call a football game. I just can't listen anymore. I'm to the point I'm turning down the sound. Now, quick thought on my Dallas Cowboys. I just got to get this out just the way Jerry had to get it out of himself the other day, standing up in the box. Maybe this is my equivalent of shooting my middle finger at the world that has so doubted ridicule my Dallas Cowboys. I'll start with the name Connor Riley. You probably haven't heard of Connor Riley. I've barely heard of him. Had to read more about him just because I was so disappointed in the hire of Brian Schottenheimer as my new head coach. But I'm starting to eat that doubt because he hired Connor Riley to coach the offensive line. And the more I read about Connor Riley, he was a big star quietly in college football at North Dakota State and Kansas State, where he coached Cooper Beebe, now my injured starting center. Somehow the Dallas Cowboys went to New York last week against a Jets team that is better than people think. A Jets team that could have beaten the Steelers, could have beaten the Bucks, in position to do both. Had a shot late against the Dolphins at Dolphins. Easily could have been 3-1 going into the Dallas game. My Cowboys went up there down 4 starters in the offensive line. Do you know how much? Do you know how many that is? Do you know how much that takes out of an offense, especially if you don't have your center, your general, your captain, your eyes and ears, your commander of the offensive line? If you're down your center, you're in such trouble. Go see 2002 Raiders in the Super Bowl against John Gruden's Buccaneers. Go look at what happened before that game to that center, who went literally south to Tijuana the night before the game. If you're missing left tackle, left guard, best left guard in football, center, right guard, and you only have the right tackle that I don't love to start with, you're going to be in for a long day, even against the Jets. Long day. No CeeDee Lamb, no Kevontae Turpin, down 2 of your top 3 receivers and your best receiver. And we put on another offensive show thanks to Dakota Rain Prescott, who is playing at an MVP level. I would give him the 5-week MVP, if not for what happened at Chicago that I find inexplicable. I don't know what happened at Chicago. It was a nightmare of a wipeout. We couldn't stop Caleb Williams from playing 50-yard catch with his receivers. I don't get it. They were stuck playing this Eberflus zone that they don't like. But the heavens opened against Micah and the Packers. We hung 40 on Micah and the Packers. We exorcised the ghost of Micah because he did not wreck that game. He did not wreck our psyche and our confidence. We grew from that game. Our confidence exploded from that game. And we went to the Jets and we played better on defense because we were allowed to play some man. I've got 2 really good corners in Trevon Diggs and Deron Bland, 2 really good big-time corners. Both have led the league in interceptions. And I'm just here to tell you that this Cowboy team is way better than you think. And you can say, I'm taking way too much from a win over the 0-5 Jets, but I am not. Jerry Jones was so full of himself after that game. So was I. I admit it. That he said he got mixed up and was trying to do thumbs up and shot the finger. My man Cody Kessler pointed out to me, and I didn't see this video, that it looks like there's one Jets fan shooting the finger. You can see his finger in the video. And maybe Jerry aimed his middle finger back at that guy, but it was mostly Cowboy fans cheering Jerry. So I understand Jerry was spilling over with optimism because I saw flashes of what I've told you all year is going to happen with this football team. This team should have beaten the Eagles at the Eagles on opening Thursday night, banner-raising night in Philadelphia. We had them. We had them in the fourth quarter. And of all people, CeeDee Lamb dropped 2. He dropped 4 for the game, but 2 huge ones in the fourth quarter, deep passes. If he catches one of them, we win the game. If he catches both of them, we definitely win the game. We led Green Bay at halftime. We led Green Bay after three quarters. We led Green Bay until 1 minute remained in the fourth quarter, until 1 minute remained in overtime. That's how good we can be. Maybe we play up to the level of the competition. The only asterisk I can put, the only far-fetched explanation I can give you for Chicago that I still haven't recovered from is that maybe they were still stuck in the Micah cloud and they were looking ahead, weirdly, to the Micah game. Maybe they feared that Micah would come in and wreck their psyche and wreck that game at Jerry World on a Sunday night for the world to see. And it didn't happen, and we got rid of it. We got past it, and I saw the pass rush come to life against the Jets, who have they're completely healthy across their offensive front, and I think they're pretty good in their offensive line, and we annihilated. We had 5 sacks and 14 quarterback hits on Justin Fields, and they weren't those cheap Micah Parsons Memorial chase down kind of sacks where the quarterback's left the pocket and about to cross the line of scrimmage and you ankle tackle him from behind. Those are Micah sacks. We were crushing the pocket and we were all over poor Justin Fields all game long in the pocket, and he is as good a running quarterback as there is, especially when he gets unfolded and unwound. We did a great job of containing and crushing that pocket, just exploding the pocket. I've told you, Dante Fowler can rush the passer. He did it for Dallas. He did it last year, just last year for the Commanders with team-leading 10.5 sacks. He came to life on Sunday against the Jets. I've told you, Ezra Ruwaku, the second-round pick, is a steal. He's just a baby. He just turned 22, but I saw flashes of brilliance. James Houston, I've told you again and again, he was a revelation during preseason when he did play. He was a revelation when he first joined the Detroit Lions, when he first got drafted. And then I don't know what happened, but he's back as a Cowboy. And he's nasty coming off the edge with all kinds of bend and wiggle. He can rush the passer. Sam Williams has shown me before he's coming off knee reconstruction. He's getting his legs underneath him, and he had a Micah Memorial sack just standing up in the middle, coming up the B gap on Justin Fields. I like Kenny Clark. I like Osa Odigizua in the middle. We can defend the run better than we have in years past. We will be at least as good without Micah, because all I know is that with Micah last year, we were a disaster all year long. We'll be better without Micah Parsons. I'm here to tell you. And I just mentioned Shamar James. Maybe it's a godsend that poor Jack Sanford got concussed and Shamar got his shot. He's an athlete. He's an explosive athlete. Don't let Overshown come back, because you want to talk about you want to talk about a dominator. You want to talk about changing life on defense. A game wrecker is Overshown, coming off terrible knee injuries, but he keeps saying, I'm going to be back sooner than later. Don't let this happen. I love my corners. And we got a couple of kids who are still on injured reserve. Kyer Elam has played pretty well, and Malik Hooker's been hurt, but I love my safeties, Hooker and Donovan Wilson especially. I just like this defense. I think they're pretty good. CD will come back sooner than later. Turpin will come back. The offensive line will start to get healthy, and then you want to talk about depth. We got depth. We got the deepest offensive line in football. And Connor Riley, he must be a wizard. Who knew? Maybe he'll be the assistant coach of the year at this rate. And don't forget, I got the greatest kicker in the history of football in Brandon Aubrey. I know everybody's kicking him from forever, but he's got a 70 in him here pretty soon. I just trust him. He's going to win 2 or 3 more games. He won, I keep calling it a win, the Green Bay game. I love this team. This team will win at Carolina. Then this team will come home and beat Washington. I'm already predicting it. We always play Washington tough. We beat them there last year with Cooper Rush. we'll beat them at home this year. Dak is playing at a supremely high level of confidence. And let me say this about Shoddy and this coaching staff. It's different. Maybe I hope I'm dead wrong about Shoddy. My issue was he's been in the league all these years, the son of a very good former head coach, Marty Schottenheimer. Why hadn't anybody, as he gets up into his 50s, ever given him a shot to be a head coach? That scared me. It felt like Jerry just elevated another puppet that he could control, a guy he liked to be around. But Shoddy has changed the culture. I couldn't stand Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy. They're just bumps on a sideline log. They're both boring human beings. They're nice guys, both of them. Has Jason Garrett ever said anything on TV that you could remember? He has a nice smile. He's almost like, do you remember the movie Stepford Wives? Every time I watch Jason on TV, I like Jason a lot. I covered him when he was a player. But every time I watch him on NBC on Sunday night, Stepford Wives, it's about these sort of robot wives that men created for themselves, the perfect wife. It's like Jason's a Stepford coach, a Stepford commentator. It's like he got created in a lab. He's just got this weird smile plastered on his face the whole time. He's just always smiling. Yeah, smile. They'll love you if you smile. Never says anything. I can't remember a thing he's ever said. Mike McCarthy, worst motivator in the history of motivation. Finally, Shoddy is bringing some energy, some electricity, some juice, some life to the sideline, to the interviews, to the locker room. It's starting to pop for me, where I'm feeling momentum. I'm feeling like we have a coach they're excited to win for, to win games for, to quote unquote die for, to run through concrete locker room walls for. Shoddy. He's a good guy. He's fun. He's invested in this. You can tell that he's lived his whole life as the son of a coach who knows how to do it, but he's not his dad. His dad was pretty boring. His dad was not a motivator. This is not a chip off the old block. This is different. And I'm just telling you, I am loving what I'm seeing, even off a win over the Jets, because of a win over the Jets. I've told you from the start, I've just had a feeling about this year's team, this year's Dallas Cowboys. And maybe, as they said in the Old West, I'll die with my boots on, but I don't think so. Not this time. I'm here to tell you, the biggest surprise of the 2025 NFL regular season will be my team. That is it for this episode. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing, to Ernestine for overseeing, and of course to Hazel for approving.